The Yellowhead Libertarian Association is raffling off another sweet firearm. I ran into Corey Listang at the Libertarian Convention, and he's a firearms enthusiast and the CEO of the association. He was also the candidate for that riding in the last federal election, and during that campaign, the association raffled off an AR-15. You know, that rifle that the media demonized because they think it looks scary. But it wasn't the easiest process because it was the first time a political party had attempted it. Here's Corey with more on that.
The last time I attempted this, it was obviously people had decided that it was illegal for somebody in my position to give away a firearm based on elections law and as well as the gaming law. So what had ensued after that is there was a lot of phone calls to Elections Canada, which I had already done by my background on it. And Elections Canada does not regulate what we would do as for fundraising as per giving something like this away.
This time around, Yellowhead is raffling off a .338 Lapua valued at $5,420 with lots of custom hardware added, and it was even made in Alberta by EM Precision Rifles. This is one awesome gun. You can visit www.yellowheadlibertarian.ca and tickets are 1 for $20 or 10 for $100. Now, this may seem like a different kind of way to raise funds, so I asked Corey to explain why he considered doing another raffle.
The main idea is we don't want to use tax dollars like the rest of the parties to fund our elections. I would like to have an actual election fund when I go into the next election, and if I raise enough money, I will help several different candidates in the Libertarian Party out.
And of course, since Listang is a gun enthusiast, I couldn't let him get away without talking about Canada's restrictive gun laws. First off, we talked about how silly the Senate proposal that would require gun owners to lock their guns up at ranges in between hunting trips or sport shooting is.
I believe that what the Liberals are doing with our gun laws is not going to affect our violent crime rate, especially with the new Senate proposal that's been kind of hanging around in the Senate for a while. That would make it so that we would actually have to keep our firearms at a lockup in a range between hunting trips or range trips. I think this is an absolute detriment to our civil liberties, and we are punishing the most law-abiding faction in the Canadian public. The law-abiding firearms owner commits less crime than any other faction in all of Canada. Not to mention, we are also the most regulated citizens in the free world.
We also talked about how gun owners in Canada are treated like second-class citizens and how they compare to other criminals.
No other person gets a daily criminal records check. No other person has the restrictions to lose their right to warranted search. Gun owners are actually treated worse than most pedophiles. A pedophile the RCMP still has to get a warrant to get into a pedophile's home to check his computer, where they can come into my home if I have enough firearms. They can come into my home without a warrant and just arbitrarily come in and do whatever they want.
And then we talked about controversial Bill C-68, which Corey explains here.
I helped with the firearms platform in the Libertarian Party of Canada, and Section 91 and 92 of the Criminal Code actually makes simple possession of a firearm illegal, and that is the basis behind Bill C-68. And I do believe that before we had Bill C-68, we had a perfectly operational system that was based on a certification system, and it didn't make simple ownership illegal. We still had to be trained, and we still had to be vetted and have our background checks, but it didn't make the fact that if our license expired, we lost our lawfully owned, peacefully owned property just over an arbitrary, maybe it might help with violent crime, and it doesn't. It's already been proven.
As we know, the Liberals are proposing even more restrictive policy for gun owners. They made it an election promise, and that's why if you have a valid PAL, you're going to want to enter to win this gun before the Liberals make these changes. Again, you can visit www.yellowheadlibertarian.ca to check it out and also to see the rules for entry. There are some guidelines to be followed, and all that information is right on the website. What a cool way to raise cash for the next election without burdening taxpayers. For the Rebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of The Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.